Welcome back, everyone. Recent studies and polling data show a striking shift in Gen Z's political preferences, especially among younger males. Dr. Evans, can you help us understand what's fueling this realignment?
Certainly, we're seeing a generational divide within Gen Z itself. While older members, particularly women, lean left, younger males are increasingly identifying as Republican. This shift correlates with changing cultural narratives, economic pressures, and evolving ideas around masculinity.
That's intriguing. So, are these trends unique to the US, or do we observe similar patterns in other Western democracies?
While the U.S. context is unique, similar rightward shifts among young men have been observed in the UK and parts of Europe. However, the scale and speed of Gen Z's political realignment in America are particularly notable due to its demographic and cultural diversity.
Let's explore the role of high-profile figures. Jordan Peterson and Andrew Tate often come up in discussions about Gen Z men. How have these personalities shaped young men's outlooks?
They've filled a vacuum for masculine role models. Peterson's earlier message like, "Clean your room" offered structure, while Andrew Tate presents a hyper-masculine, success-driven image. For many, their messages provide a sense of purpose absent from mainstream narratives, though both have faced significant criticism.
Some argue these figures exploit insecurities, while others say they empower. Can you elaborate on this dichotomy?
Absolutely. For some, these messages inspire self-improvement. For others, they risk reinforcing toxic stereotypes. The debate reflects a broader struggle over defining modern masculinity in a rapidly changing society.
Transitioning from influencers, let's discuss how perceptions of masculinity tie into political identity. Why do many young men feel alienated by left-leaning narratives?
Many left platforms have emphasized progressive values, sometimes framing traditional masculinity negatively. Young men seeking affirmation for conventional aspirations like building families or being providers often feel marginalized, which can drive them toward movements or leaders who validate those desires.
Is there data to support this sense of alienation?
A 2023 Pew study found that 61% of young men felt society undervalued traditional masculinity. This sentiment correlates with increased identification with right-wing politics among this demographic.
Now, let's consider the impact of family structures. There's a claim that conservatives have more children, influencing Gen Z's political leanings. How much truth is there to this?
Demographic research supports it. Data from the CDC and Pew shows conservative families consistently report higher birth rates. Because political attitudes are often inherited or shaped by family, this gradually tips the balance, especially as liberal-leaning families have fewer children.
So, is this a long-term trend, or could it reverse?
It's a persistent trend, but cultural and educational environments like college play major roles in shaping beliefs. The interplay between home upbringing and societal influences remains dynamic.
Economic anxiety is often cited as shaping Gen Z's worldview. How do factors like the 2008 financial crisis and current job markets affect their political attitudes?
Gen Z came of age during or after the Great Recession. Limited job prospects, student debt, and rising living costs have fueled frustration. For some, this translates to support for progressive policies. For others, it prompts a shift toward conservatism, seeking stability and traditional values.
Can you draw a parallel with any previous generations?
Similar patterns emerged after the 1970 stagflation, when economic hardship produced both left and right-leaning radicalism among youth. The difference now is the amplification through social media and influencer culture.
There's a narrative painting Gen Z as lazy or entitled. Terms like quiet quitting and stay-at-home son are thrown around. Is this critique fair, or is it a misunderstanding of changing norms?
It's a complex issue. While some data shows increased rates of young adults living at home, this choice often reflects economic necessity, not laziness. Moreover, Gen Z values work-life balance and mental health more than previous generations, which can be misinterpreted as indolence.
Does this generational tension show up in the workplace?
Absolutely. Surveys by Deloitte and Gallup reveal Gen Z expects flexibility and purpose from employers. Older generations sometimes view this as entitlement, but it could also signal a cultural adaptation to modern challenges.
Moving from criticism to solutions, there's growing emphasis on merit and self-improvement among Gen Z, especially within right-leaning circles. Why does the message of personal responsibility resonate so strongly?
In uncertain times, discipline and self-reliance offer a sense of control. The appeal is both psychological and practical. For example, fitness culture and entrepreneurship are booming among young men, reflecting a desire to build tangible, individual success rather than relying on systemic change.
Are there risks in overemphasizing individual effort?
Certainly. While personal growth is vital, ignoring structural barriers can lead to frustration or misplaced blame. Balance is key, recognizing both agency and societal context.
Representation in media is another hot topic. Some argue that a lack of strong male role models in film and TV impacts young men's identities. What does the research suggest?
Studies in media psychology confirm that identification with on-screen characters influences self-concept, especially during formative years. If young men rarely see themselves reflected as competent or admirable, they may turn to alternative influencers or ideologies for affirmation.
Can diverse representation coexist with strong male archetypes?
Absolutely. The key is balance. Media can showcase a variety of strong identities, male, female, and otherwise, without diminishing any group. It's about expanding, not replacing, the spectrum of role models.
Let's shift to the importance of community. As traditional social structures change, how is Gen Z finding belonging, especially those feeling politically or culturally alienated?
Many are turning to online communities, clubs, gyms, or social games like poker. These spaces offer connection and shared purpose outside of formal institutions. A 2022 APA report found that Gen Zers who regularly participate in group activities report higher levels of well-being and civic engagement.
Is digital connection sufficient, or do in-person communities remain crucial?
Both matter. Online platforms can spark interest and bridge distance, but face-to-face interaction builds deeper trust and resilience. Ideally, Gen Z blends both for robust social capital.
As we wrap up, what practical steps can Gen Zers, regardless of politics, take to build resilience and agency in a tough world?
Start with self-care, exercise, eat healthily, and nurture discipline. Seek out communities, whether in sports, volunteering, or creative pursuits. Remember, progress is incremental. Even small habits compound over time. Importantly, don't be discouraged by setbacks. Growth is a process.
Any advice for those struggling to find motivation or direction?
Begin with manageable goals. Celebrate each milestone. Reach out for mentorship. Many have walked this path before. And above all, understand that your unique strengths matter. Your contribution shapes not just your future, but society's as well.